Hey everybody, Foley here for the weekly news recap for the 12th to the 18th of June 2023. No, it's not 2022, Derek. I was about to say it. Feels like it, but it's not. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, we got a lot to get through today, so let's jump into it. So, there's a lot of Summer Games Fest things still going on. It's somewhat wrapped up now. There's still a couple of showcases to go, but the vast majority of the important ones, we say, are all over now. So starting with the Xbox showcase on Sunday, we got a little look at Fable. I was going to say I'm not going to go through these trailers, but I might as well at this point. So I did a full I did a full watch along of the Xbox showcase. You can find that VOD over on either the YouTube channel or it's probably still in the Twitch VODs. So the Fable trailer is entirely CG, there's no gameplay or anything like that. It had been rumored for a good while that Fable was going to be shown off at this showcase. It does kind of highlight the Fable comedy, if you like. It's very dry, it's very satirical, it's very like heroes are kind of dickheads sort of a deal to it. But yeah, watch more of it, I guess, or watch that VOD. Anyway, there's no gameplay. South of Midnight again, also entirely CG. Allegedly, Xbox, as part of their PR for advertising the showcase, were saying all of the trailers will either be in-engine or gameplay stuff. So allegedly, all of the trailers you've seen have all been in-engine so far, apparently. Sure, we'll see about that. South of Midnight is an action-adventure thing. We don't know, really, because no gameplay was shown off, no mention of how the game plays, no mention of what you're even doing. Nothing. It's just this kind of blues zombie guy, and this woman who comes to talk to him. She's hunting for some sort of folklore monster cryptid thing, and that's it. We don't really know a whole lot else about this game. So yeah, I don't know, more to come on that, I suppose. Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft was shown off briefly. We will get more to that in Ubisoft's presentation, so we're going to skip ahead on that one. 33 Immortals is from the same developers who brought you Spiritfarer. It is very much a different game. 33 Immortals is a 33-player raid, effectively. If you've ever been part of a MMO RPG raid, this is what you're looking at. It's 33 players, top-down. You're all kind of thrown into a dungeon. You're all given different tasks to do, and then eventually that unlocks like a final boss fight kind of thing, and you all go off from there, and it's meant to be 33 players all playing at once. Payday 3, again, briefly shown off. Payday 2 was a free game on Epic last week, so hopefully you grabbed it, because it's not there anymore. Payday 3 is a heist, first-person shooter heist game, like bank heists and stuff like that. A pretty poorly kept secret, but Persona 3 is getting a remaster, remake. Remaster is probably more accurate. Persona 3 is apparently a really good Persona. I have only played Persona 5, so I'm looking forward to that. It should also be pointed out that unless the game is a first-party Xbox title, it's gonna be on PlayStation as well. So Fable won't be, because Xbox own that company. South of Midnight is by the people behind We Happy Few, Compulsion Games. I think Xbox own them. I'm not sure. I need to check into that. Ubisoft is an independent publisher, so that'll be fine. Thunder Lotus are also an independent publisher. Starbreeze, pretty sure independent. And Atlas, Sega, yeah, also independent. So Persona 3 will be also a PlayStation 2 game, or PlayStation game 2 is what I meant to say. Avowed. Okay, so Avowed looks kind of interesting because I honestly thought it was I thought it was going to be an Elder Scrolls, to be honest, when I looked at it. And I kind of wasn't really paying attention to the voiceover, because the voiceover mentions the Living Lands. And the Living Lands is a Pillars of Eternity thing. Also, there's guns. That probably should have clued me in the first place. But it's a first-person. I mean, when you see it, you'll see what I mean, because you might have thought it was an Elder Scrollsy type thing as well. But no, it's a Pillars of Eternity sequel, kind of. It's a Pillars of Eternity spin-off, I suppose. So if you're not familiar with Pillars of Eternity, it's an isometric RPG similar to the older Baldur's Gates. Also Mushroom Bear. Pretty cool. This looks really good. And Obsidian being an Xbox first party, that means I'm gonna have to get a good PC if I want to play it, pretty much, because I don't own an Xbox. And I have nowhere to put an Xbox anyway, even if I did have one. So yeah, it's gonna have to be a good PC for me. But it is interesting to see that Pillars of Eternity is, I'm gonna say branching out, but this is kind of more of a mainstream type game than what the original Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 would have been. I still need to play them. I kind of really bounced off the original Pillars of Eternity. It's because it was really fucking hard. Anyway, that's Avowed. We don't have a release date yet. 2024 at some point. Monkey Island is coming to Sea of Thieves. So there's going to be a Sea of Thieves Monkey Island crossover. It is a co-op campaign thing. It can be played single player and takes place in an area of Sea of Thieves that is only PvE, I think, is the deal with it. I've never played Sea of Thieves, so I don't know, but I assume there is a section of the server or whatever, the server space, where it's like, you don't have to deal with shitheads. I don't know if that's a thing. But there's a lot of throwbacks here to the original Monkey Island, characters you're spotting, even puzzle setups. Stan, the boat salesman. Guybrush is in here with a beard for some reason, even though Guybrush can't grow a beard. That's kind of a whole thing, in that he can't grow a beard. So maybe it's a fake beard. You know, they might be leaning into that part of thing. Also, he's governor. No one would ever vote Guybrush for governor. There's no way that would happen. Anyway, that is coming middle of next month for free for people who already have Sea of Thieves. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. No release date for it, but it's coming. You can play as a bunch of emergency aerial things now, like helicopter paramedics, firefighters, that kind of stuff. There's going to be a Dune crossover as well for the current Microsoft Flight Simulator coming out in November of this year, where you can fly around in one of these orthocopters, some kind of bird word, and then copter at the end of it. Anyway, Senua Saga Hellblade 2 got another trailer. Apparently it's still in development. It's taking a billion years to make this game. They kind of chose a really weird section to show off, in my opinion, because it's really dark and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, and I don't think it really showcases the game very well. Like, the game's whole deal is performance capture, but a lot of it is also just kind of surreal landscapes and things like that. And yeah, there's bits of that here, but it's an odd choice, I think. It's kind of set, I'm going to skip ahead. It's kind of set in a cave. There is of course, some weird shit going on in the background. A lot of it is the audio. Hellblade really employs binaural audio really, really well. I mean, it shows off the performance pretty well, but I just don't know. I guess they're assuming you've seen the previous trailer that has the giant crawling after them. I don't know. Go play the original Hellblade anyway. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So there was some weirdness when this trailer dropped. I wonder if this is the edited trailer. It might be, because it's not playing. Okay, they might have had to take that trailer down. So that trailer was edited after the showcase. There's a bare arse in it, and apparently that offended literally everybody in the content moderation part of YouTube, because you can't even find it anymore. But But yeah, anyway, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is Yakuza 8. There was some confusion because it wasn't called Like a Dragon 8, basically. So the way this works is, in Japan, the Yakuza series was never called Yakuza. It was always called Ryogagatoku, which means Like a Dragon. For obvious reasons, they didn't call it Yakuza, you know, criminal enterprise and all that. They didn't want to, I don't know, advertise for it or promote it or whatever. And also, I imagine you couldn't copyright the name Yakuza. It'd be like trying to copyright the word mafia, I suppose. But anyway, it is Like a Dragon 8. And I can't show you the trailer because it's been censored. All right, taking it down. The Fallout 76 is still a thing. Moving on. Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, was shown off by Capcom very briefly. It's not clear what kind of game this is. I assume it is an action-adventure slashery type thing, but whether it is some kind of live service type deal or some kind of multiplayer co-op thing, is it a Monster Hunter type sort of thing? Not sure. It is leaning heavily into Japanese folklore. The very weirder aspects of Japanese folklore. Cool. I'm all for that, absolutely. I would just like to know what kind of game this is, so I can temper my expectations. Because if it's gonna be some live service battle pass nonsense, I can just forget about it already. We'll skip ahead to some amount of gameplay. Got this guy going for his Sunday stroll. So there's some element of, Shintoism, but there's clearly a bunch of different character classes there as well. Hey Melwan, hello from Paris. Oh, it's today you were flying. Shite, I thought it was tomorrow. Anyway, hello. Oh, I hope you had a safe trip. I was gonna say safe trip. Oh, about to board again. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. A safe trip this time, then, I guess. Anyway, yeah, we don't know what kind of game this is gonna be. Hopefully, it's not a live service shenanigans. Preferably not that. But there are, of course, different players there. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Forza Motorsport is still a thing. It's coming out later this year. The Elder Scrolls Online, also still a thing. There's an update, if you're interested. Overwatch 2, apparently also still a thing. The Invasion pack is coming out in August. This is their apology patch for not having PvE anymore. You know, as we mentioned some days ago, that Overwatch 2 was going to abandon its plans for PvE, which was the whole reason there was an Overwatch 2 in the first place. It's why they couldn't just add more characters to Overwatch 1. It's like, no, we needed to overhaul the whole engine so we could do PvE stuff as well and story things, and we'll have that's shenanigans. And then they said, no, let's not bother. So that's not happening anymore. So this is their apology thing. So there are story missions for some characters, but you got paid for them as well. That's right. That's right. You got paid for it. It's not even gonna be free. Good shit. All right, moving on. Persona 5 Tactica. So it's Persona 5 cross XCOM, effectively. So this is Atlus's attempt to get Persona 5 into every possible genre of video game at this point. And you know what? I'm going to play it too, because they've got my number really well. Just slap Persona 5 on it and I will play it. Square Enix could do the same thing if they just slap 567 on it and I'll play it. Anyway, yeah, XCOM but Persona characters. Yes, sure, I'm there. I'm in. Let's go. No problem. This will not be an issue. Anyway, that, I don't think there's a... oh, sorry, 17th November. So later this year. It'll be out soon. There was a big Starfield Direct thing that went into a whole bunch of Starfield things. As I said, I've done the VOD for this already. Check that out. But too long. Too long didn't watch. I wasn't that impressed, to be honest. I guess we'll see. Jusant is the next game from Don't Nod, who they've now decided to name their studio. They've decided to add an apostrophe into it so that everybody knows how you're actually supposed to pronounce it. So it's a free climbing game. I think this is free climbing, right? Even if you have a rope, is it still considered free climbing? Or is it specifically not having a rope is what makes it free climbing? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of climbing things in this game. And you have this weird blob friend who has some kind of magic abilities. It's not clear what exactly they do. But a lot of this is just making what is usually a pretty basic mechanic in a lot of games less basic. You know, there's a bit more to climbing. You kind of have to sort of think about what you're doing a bit more. You know, I'm interested. We'll see how it turns out. I think your little blob friend can also make handholds for you or something like that. And maybe there's some weird mystery shit happening at the same time. I guess we will see. Still Wakes the Deep is the next game from Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Chinese Room, I think, is their name. Yes, Chinese Room. It's right there on the screen. Cool. So, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was a first-person narrative walkie sim type thing, where you wake up in a rural English village and everyone has disappeared. Gone to the Rapture, perhaps. And you're just trying to figure out what's happening, where everybody is. Still Wakes the Deep is another walkie sim type thing, but it's horror more specifically. There's something out here on the oil derrick with you. So, be careful, I guess. We'll know more about it soon enough, hopefully. But it looks really good. I'm really looking forward to playing it. Early 2024. Gonna be a while. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a Diablo-like type game, but takes place somewhat in the real world, but also some kind of Demon World crossover type situation. You know, early next year. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, to remind you that it's coming out soon. It's coming out in September, but also points out that it's going to be adding a bunch of free updates to the base game. So even if you don't buy Phantom Liberty, you'll still get all of these updates, which has massively overhauled the game. It's almost a new game, effectively, is what they're saying. New skill trees, new interactions, new endings, new dialogue for characters, new scenes, missions, and so on. There's a lot going on there that isn't just Phantom Liberty, which is the expansion. Cool. I still haven't played Cyberpunk. I bought it when it was, you know, hilariously cheap. And they were, you know, apologizing to everybody and they massively dropped the price on it. I haven't gotten around to actually playing it yet, though. So it's on the list. We'll get there eventually. City Skylines 2. More City Skylines. Just more city building things. Build a nice city, blow it up. Fun times to be had. Metaphor ReFantasio. Fantastic name. Anyway, Metaphor ReFantasio is the next game from the Persona team. So not to be content with remastering Persona 3 and doing Persona 5 Tactica, now we have a brand new IP in the Persona series. Or it's kind of a Persona-ish spin-off, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It's still using the same characters of the Shin Megami Tensei world. Not characters, monsters. So there's at least some kind of crossover there. The Shin Megami Tensei series, which is the original series, kind of lent into the demonic elements of the world. Persona was kind of more in the real world that had crossovers with demons, angels, that kind of thing. And then it looks like Metaphor ReFantasio is the angelic end of things. Cool. Either way, it's new shit from the Persona team, as they're called. Yeah, cool. Can't wait. It's gonna be cool. Gonna be good. 2024 at some point. Towerborn is a Castle Crashers, kind of. It's like a randomized Castle Crashers type game, or procedurally generated Castle Crashers type deal. Clockwork Revolution, I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's Bioshock Infinite, and I can see where they're getting that from, sure, but to me it feels more like It feels more like it's going for the Wolfenstein Singularity type deal. Like, clearly the Bioshock Infinite comparisons are, like, they're right there. It's roughly the same kind of time period, even if there's some futuristic shit going on. There is time travel in the game. Bioshock Infinite, spoilers, there's a bit of timey-windy stuff going on there. But I don't know. It just feels like it's more trying to lean towards a Wolfenstein Singularity type deal. Definitely not art direction wise, but I don't know. Gameplay wise, that's what it kind of feels like. I don't think there's too much. But yeah, there's some timey-windy stuff. Anyway, that's In Exile, and I believe In Exile is a Microsoft-owned company, so that'll be a first-party thing. The Xbox Series S is getting a different color. Cool. And then the Starfield Direct kind of wrapped up everything. As I said, there's a VOD for that over on the YouTube channel or in the Twitch VODs for now. Should still be there. But we're going to move on because that's not the only video game showcase that was this week. So there was also... Go back to the top. There was also the Future Games Showcase, which technically happened before the Xbox Game Showcase, but I figured the Xbox one was more important, so we started with that one. Anyway, Future Games is mostly just third-party things. It's entirely third-party because Future Games aren't a publisher, but anyway. High Water started off the show. High Water is a turn-based action-adventure set in Water World, effectively. The polar ice caps have melted, the world has been flooded type deal. Resistor is a post-apocalyptic car PG where you build a ragtag team of racers. So it's like your traditional party-based RPG. Think Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Dungeons and Dragons in general, but it's all based around cars. So it's got a bit of Speed Racer to it as well. Instinction is a high-fidelity Turok. So it's a first-person dinosaur shooter thing. I think there's some elements of survival to it as well. Not a whole lot shown off in the trailer. It looked very much a proof of concept in the trailer, so I think we're pretty far off from seeing this to be ready anytime soon. Star Trucker, a truck sim genre with dynamic storytelling and RPG elements in space. So yeah, big rig truckers in space. Cool. Yeah, to be honest, it seemed a lot better than that. Anyway, we'll see more about it, I guess, in 2024. I don't know. It didn't strike me as a truck sim game. It struck me more as here's a walking sim, driving sim, flying sim, whatever, deal that you just happen to be a truck driver in space. That's kind of more of the vibe I got from it, but I guess we'll see. Lords of the Fallen had a pretty significant showcase at the show. Makes sense. Where they kind of showed off a bit more of the universe, a bit more of what you'll be doing, and a bit more of how the game world kind of works. Why aren't you going full screen? You better not. Anyway, so the way these elements are going to work is there are actually 2 overlaid worlds. I forget the names they used for them, but it reminded me very much of Soul Reaver, PS1, PS2 game. Where you did also have 2 overlaid worlds. You would walk about in the material plane, or the material world, the corporeal world, whatever way you want to put it, until you died. And when you died, you were sent into the spiritual plane, or the spirit world, or in this case, Umbra, I think is what they call it, or the land of the dead. Alright, so you've got these 2 overlaid worlds. The architecture is roughly the same, but there'll be some twisted elements to it. Soul Reaver had much the same thing. The architecture was very, very similar across different places, but some of them had bridges, some of them didn't, some of them the architecture warped in certain ways, some of it and so on. So it was like puzzle elements in that way. So you've effectively got 2 world maps is the way this is working. So kind of interestingly, it means you technically have 2 lives. You have the one life that keeps you in the material world, and then if you die, you go into the spirit world, and if you die there, you gotta start over. You can also willingly enter the spirit world, though you will sacrifice a life to do it. Similarly, Soul Reaver, while it didn't have a life mechanic necessarily, you could just willingly go into the spirit world if you wanted to. You were freely able to transition from one to the other. Until later games where you had to find specific areas where you could do it. Actually, no, sorry, you did need to find specific areas. In Soul Reaver, you needed to find a specific area where you could go from Spirit World to the real world, but not the other way around. I don't know why. I assume it's a memory constraint, but I don't entirely remember why they had that constraint. Anyway, interesting. It's a very interesting concept. An additional concept they added to it is that while you are in the Spirit World, enemies will increase in number. Like, over time, the longer you are in there, more enemies will start showing up, to a point where eventually you'll just be overrun by creatures. So you can't stay in the Spirit World for very long, I guess, is the idea there. They don't want you circumventing a lot of the story things, I guess. It's an interesting idea. Anyway, we'll see more about that when it comes out later this year in October. Headbangers Rhythm Royale is a rhythm action game, so Guitar Hero, Tatsunoko, that kind of stuff. But it's a battle royale as well, so it's everybody plays a song to the rhythm, and if you fuck up, you're out, kind of thing. You know, it's elimination. It's it's a basic concept, but it'll work, and it's not. Crucially, it's not a shooter. You know, everybody get to the safe zone thing. You know, it's not a PUBG type deal or a Fortnite thing. You know, it's different. It's a different type of battle royale. You know, that's good. I have no interest because it's going to be multiplayer, but it's a good concept. All right. Anyway, The Last Faith also shown off. I kind of wanted to highlight this because it looks really good. It is a Metroidvania side-scrolly pixel thing, but Bloodborne. So basically, take Bloodborne and turn it into Castlevania. Bloodborne already is Castlevania in a lot of ways, so they don't have to stretch very far to do this. But yeah, my god, does it look good. They know how to get me, really. I could almost rename this channel to just Foley Runs Right. Because I like to play Metroidvania so much. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. I completely missed the Kickstarter for this, so I'm a little annoyed at that, but yep, I'm gonna play it. It is opening up a beta demo, early play, something like that. You can't really have a beta necessarily for a single player game. I mean, you can, but they don't typically call it that. Anyway, October this year at some point, and you can register for the upcoming beta, which I have. Hopefully I will get access to it. Steel Seed. Steel Seed is a sci-fi stealth action platformer set in the wake of a climate catastrophe. So I thought this looked interesting because it's somewhat of a buddy stealth game, kind of. So you are this armored, potentially cyborg person. You have a little buddy robot with you, and you are just navigating this area, and you are absolutely not capable of fighting most of these enemies. So you're kind of needing to stealth zipline your way through. Don't ask questions. But I do like that there's more of an emphasis on you trying to avoid combat, trying to, use the terrain to your advantage, use your buddy friends to your advantage, not trying to go toe-to-toe with enemies. And I do kind of like the platforming parkour elements to it. You do have your little friend who can activate things in the environment, who can help you in stealth scenarios, but it is very much a kind of don't actually go toe-to-toe with the enemy, because they will kill you. But you can stealth them. Anyway, we'll see more about that later in the year. There is no date for it yet, though. Okay, Distant Bloom, Serene Management Systems... what? Huh? I highlighted this one weird. Showing off the game's serene management systems as you wield the power of plants to restore the environment of an alien world. Okay, so that's a cozy fun time game by the sounds of things. Go Fight Fantastic is a futuristic top-down co-op brawler, so think Streets of Rage type thing, but top-down and colorful characters. En Garde is a swashbuckling action-adventure. I wanted to show this off because En Garde is actually a student game from a couple of years ago, and some of the teams stayed together and decided, let's just make this an actual, full-blown let's really lean into it and, tie up bugs and what have you. Because, when it's a student game, you're only having to demo it to, like, a handful of people. Usually it's not a hands-on event. What I like about On Guard is, like, it clearly has Zorro inspirations, sure. But I like that a lot of it is environmental combat. It's like you're using just the environment to kind of take down enemies. You're not necessarily going for, crazy combos or Devil May Cry stuff or what have you. It's mostly just maneuvering the enemy so that they're in a position where you can make them hit something. But then there's also like sword combat and what have you. There is a demo for it available now, as it says, and we may have a look at that soon. Maybe not. Depends if we can find time for it. Anyway, Alaskan Road Truckers is... Yep, there's more than one trucking game at the Future Game Show. That's like a proper truck sim, though. The Bookwalker Thief of Tales. It's a CG trailer, so I don't know a whole lot about how the game plays. It's apparently an action-adventure type thing, which means nothing. Honestly, that genre name just doesn't mean anything anymore. Anyway, players will dive into a variety of book worlds and attempt to steal historic literary items to restore the protagonist's ability to write. He's going to some lengths to avoid writer's block there, honestly. Anyway, it's out pretty soon, though. It's out next week. And we still don't know what kind of fucking game it is. Okay. Deceit 2 is a social subterfuge game. So think if you've ever played party game Werewolf, or Avalon, the card game, or Betrayal, The House on the Hill, all that kind of stuff. It's just tricking your friends, more or less, but video games instead. Life by You, it has an early access. It's going to be hitting early access in September. Life by You is a Sims game. So there's a couple of developers are sort of trying to position themselves to disrupt, shall we say, the Sims genre, because there is no genre. It's just The Sims. It's kind of its own thing, kind of lives out on its own, and it hasn't really been challenged in a long time. Ever, possibly. It's just because it's so huge, and at this point, if you were to try to jump into it, you would have to be a little insane, which I guess Paradox is. So Life by You is hitting early access in September. It is planning to be a kind of Sims type thing. You have your own houses, furniture, you have your Sims going about their lives, interacting with other people. You can focus on one Sim, you can focus on a family of Sims, so on and so forth. What I did like about their presentation, it's clearly still early, still juddery. Frame rate's obviously an issue. It's not being optimized just yet. They're still deep in development. What I did like is they were showing off their mod suite. It must be later in the trailer, or it might have been a different trailer, actually. They were showing off their mod suite to show like how you can, as a player, or as a modder, if you like, just get in and change things around. It looked really interesting to me. And I haven't typically felt like getting into modding before, but that seemed straightforward enough, so I might get into it in that case. There were some VR games shown off. A lot of them we knew about already. Sea Smash VRS is almost out. I think it's out next week. It's out soon enough. It's squash in space. It looks pretty good, to be honest. Madison VR is the Madison game, but in VR. Madison is a first-person horror, psychological horror thing. It has good elements, and then it has some really frustrating elements to it as well. To the point that it does become kind of a pain in the ass to play. But it does have some good set pieces. I just don't think they tie together very well. Certain parts of Madison in VR, will be genuinely terrifying. But I think a lot of it is also going to be, whatever. VR Skater is VR skateboarding, if you like. Firewall Ultra is a hoorah shenanigans. Wallace and Gromit: The Grand Getaway is a VR game for Wallace and Gromit. I'm pretty sure it's MetaQuest exclusive. It's also not clear actually what you're doing, who you're playing. Are you playing Wallace? Are you playing Gromit? Are you playing some third person who came with them? Don't know. Surviving Deponia, a story-driven survival twist on the cult classic point-and-click series. I was unaware of the Deponia series entirely. I thought it was a My Little Pony thing. Moving on. Homeseek, a post-apocalyptic survival strategy game. Yeah, we're getting into the RTS things now. Actually, it's not even an RTS, it's a base management game. Coming out next month. Laika Aged Through Blood is a narrative-driven motorbike combat odyssey. It's a motorvania, is the way it's put. Your character is some sort of rat lad on a motorbike, and you don't seem to ever come off the motorbike, so you do all your combat on the motorbike. Interesting. Okay, June 19th. Space Gears is a strategy RPS. RPS? Or what the fuck would an RPS be? Role-playing shooter, I guess? Destiny? Anyway. No, not Destiny. Role-playing shooters like Fallout, I suppose? Anyway. RTS is what I meant. And yeah, moving on. Layers of Fear has been rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. This is mostly why it was shown off, because they wanted to show off Unreal Engine 5. That is out already. It is Layers of Fear again, though. So if you didn't like the gameplay, I mean, it looks better, but it's the same game still. So, although there is like a second game to it now as well, and some sort of third game that wraps the two of them around. So there's some new narrative things if you liked that story. I didn't. Enhanced Portals is Cuphead again, but by a different studio. Moving on. Shattered Heaven, a dark fantasy deck building RPG. Deck building, no thank you. Moving Out 2 is Moving Out, the sequel to Moving Out. Think Overcooked, but instead of you trying to cook something, you need to move furniture out from somebody's house or into somebody's house. Either or. And shenanigans, as there usually are. Warhaven was shown off at Summer Games Fest, so we can skip ahead on that one. SteamWorld Build, the next entry in SteamWorld Dig, I guess, series. City builder, management, so SimCity type deal. Daymare 1994 Sandcastle is an interesting name. Is a stylish survival horror game. So I heard that. I went, okay. Show me more. Would you like to know more? Yes, I would. So Daymare is apparently a full series of survival horror games that I just never knew about. This is their latest one. It very much is a new age Resident Evil type deal. Over the shoulder shooter. But it is harkening back to the 1990s survival horror type games. But yeah, if you've played any of the newer Resident Evils, this will look very similar, I think. We'll see how it plays out. The camera is very close to your character, so I'm not sure how much I like that. But I think it's out pretty soon. What's 8? August? Yeah, August 30th, 2023. Okay. New Cycle. City Builders. Roofy and the Riverside. A charming mascot platformer where you copy and paste textures to change the game world in a radical fashion. I don't remember even seeing this trailer. I don't remember it. I'm going to move on. It sounds interesting, though. Let's look back on that. Unreal Engine 5 Showcase. They showed off some more of Unreal Engine 5. You'll be seeing some games coming out soon, or Layers of Fear, if you haven't already, that are employing Unreal Engine 5 now. A lot of games that are currently in development are using it, but I think Layers of Fear is the first game to actually release with Unreal Engine 5. Fretless, The Wrath of Rifson is a deck-building system. Paleo Pines, a life simulator where you befriend dinosaurs and build out a roarsome ranch. It'll be out on PC on September 26th. It looks like a cute... I was going to say a cute Stardew Valley, but I'm not sure that's what they're going for, because it seems like it's more of a ranch simulator. Which I guess, yeah, I guess Stardew Valley, but not farming. I don't know. To be honest, I don't remember this trailer either. Hammerwatch 2 is Castle Crashers. It just is. Co-op action RPG. Station to Station is a pretty chill rail management type game. Wholesome simulator game where you'll connect voxel railways to build thriving cities. Rekka. Play as a witch collecting plants and crafting supplies in a giant chicken cottage. If you heard the term chicken cottage and immediately thought Baba Yaga, you're on the right track. This seems what it's going for. It looks like it's going to be a survival sim set in the kind of... Is Baba Yaga Polish? I think it's Eastern European. I'm not sure where exactly. But yeah, they are. They live in that chicken cottage, basically. I don't know if you live in that chicken cottage, but Baba Yaga does. Presumably you are, or maybe you're an apprentice witch to her. But yeah, it's a survival sim type thing. So, you know, Valheim, Minecraft, that kind of deal, but set in a kind of Eastern European witch folklore setting, which is interesting. I don't really go in for the survival sim games. I like story too much, honestly. And if the game doesn't have a good story, it's less interesting to me. It's why I don't play a lot of endgame or post-game content, because the story's over, and now I don't care anymore. They didn't clip that title very well. Okay, anyway. Wishlist on Steam. Rekka will be out sometime next year. Company of Heroes 3 was adapted to consoles, and this is mostly just telling you that it's been adapted to consoles. Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, coming out start of August. It is a choose-your-own-adventure musical thing, where the Greek gods are in modern time, kind of thing. So Fables, but the Greek gods, and a musical. Reveal, a story and exploration-focused game. I'm pretty sure it's a horror. I went the wrong way. This way. Pretty sure it's a horror. I don't remember it too well. A narrative psychological horror experience. Well, that answers that. I don't remember this game. I put the trailer down because I was pretty sure it was a horror, but I haven't actually watched the trailers I added to this playlist because I was in a bit of a... You might have noticed we started a bit late, so I was in a bit of a rush. Oh no, the true horror. The fucking gravity balance game. Good god. So yeah, it looks like it's a bit walkie sim, but it's got some survival horror or not survival horror, just horror elements to it. Apparently you live near a circus. That's creepy enough, I suppose. Yep, that's pretty creepy, alright. I get it's creepy. I'm not getting the horror elements to it. Other than it being creepy. Okay, I don't know. Maybe the voiceover does more for it. Anyway. Pacific Drive, you may have seen this. This is the game. It's a survival station wagon sim. You're kind of driving off, a driving focused survival adventure. You drive off into somewhere in the US that has a lot of trees. You're in some kind of no-go zone where there are anomalies hanging about the place, and you're not supposed to be there, but you're trying to like get information about what's happening. There's maybe a bit of an SCP thing going on there as well, and the deal is you're trying to like collect data on the anomalies happening in the area while also trying to not get killed by them. And the deal is you kind of need to go fast. You know, your car is you're not exactly playing the car exactly, but I don't think you can get out of the car. Or if you do, no, you can. Sorry, you can get out of the car, but don't. Or at least if you have to, be very, very quick, kind of thing. I don't know. It has an interesting concept. Cookie Cutter, Technopop, Techno-Pop Punk, Metroidvania. Metroidvania, you say? I gotta see this. Okay, Cookie Cutter kind of looked interesting because the animations are all hand-drawn. And that always appeals. Hand-drawn animations always appeal. I believe you are playing some kind of companion bot to somebody. Slash, I know, girlfriend robot or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a melee brawler Metroidvania and hand-drawn art, animation, and stuff like that. It looks really nice. But I think it's also got a little bit of body horror grossness to it as well. That's kind of what they're going for. Cool. Looks interesting. It's a Metroidvania. I'm almost certainly going to play it. The Precinct. Hey, did you like the old GTA games? Where you had to look down on top of the car and it didn't run very well? it was difficult to tell what you were doing, you'll love the Precinct. Or rather, and you also wanted to be the police, yes, then you'll love the Precinct. 1980 sandbox crime adventure where you play as a rookie beat cop. Yeah, it does kind of look like the top-down GTA games. It's not quite top-down; it's more isometric, technically. I don't really want to be a cop though, so moving on. Luto, psychological horror experience. Psychological horror. I'm there, even though I don't play them. I like to watch people play them because I am a big baby and I do not want to play horror games. I'll just watch people play them. Luto has a lot of PT to it, but it also has a fair bit of Madison to it as well. I'm just kind of hoping it leans more into PT than to Madison. Let's just go with that. I suppose it's a little unfair to say first-person psychological horrors have a lot of PT to them, because PT is technically not even a game. You know, it's just a tech demo at this point. But it's also just high-fidelity first-person, which, you know, if graphics continue to improve, that's going to be almost every first-person game, but what have you. Anyway, creepy psychological horror, sure. Neat. Can't wait. Can't wait to watch somebody else play it. Why do I feel like I've seen this game already? Does it look a whole lot like PT? How you doing, Lustig? I think it's been in development and shown off hundreds of times. And like it's actually maybe coming out, maybe possibly thinking about actually releasing at some point soon. Coming soon. It still doesn't have a release date. Maybe had a playable demo. It's probably that. A demo of the game is currently available. Maybe it was that. Future Game Show finished off with The Spirit of the Samurai. It's a stop-motion horror Metroidvania and horror. Say no more, I am in. And it has a weird art direction. Yep, here I'm straight in. Here's my money. All right, so stop-motion horror Metroidvania where you play a samurai, an alien, and a cat, a ninja cat, mind you. That's Kiriko. That's Kiriko's fox from Overwatch. It's entirely possible. This is before they met Kiriko, I guess. The stop motion is interesting because it does give a feel of the 90s FMV fighter games. Now that is a weird pull. I know it's going to be a weird pull, and only there's going to be a handful of people who know what I'm talking about. But that's kind of what they feel like. It feels like this weird. The weird 90s fighters that were also stop motion, but they just felt really strange. So there seems to be some kind of life transference thing. You've got this really creepy fox who actually speaks with their voice instead of just telepathically. Anyway, and then he maybe he eats the cat that that just is Kiriko's fox. It could be. The thing is, the kitsune creature with like the white and the red markings or whatever is just Japanese folklore. Like that is a thing. They just look like that. Just look at Okami. All of the creatures you meet there, they all look like that. Anyway, now I want to go this way. All right, then we're nearly there. Well, actually, we're not. We're like halfway at best. It's not unique to Overwatch, but that's all I can do. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, if I see a wolf with those markings, all I see is Okami, so that is fair. All right, Ubisoft Summer Showcase. Now, luckily, we can skip almost all of this because Ubisoft, which is what I'm going to do. But I'm just gonna point them out. All right, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is first person Avatar, but not that Avatar. The other Avatar with the big blue cat people is just Far Cry. That's it. It's just Far Cry with big blue cat people. Right, moving on. X Defiant or Cross Defiant or whatever way they put it is PvP focus first. Moving on. Prince of Persia: The Last Crown was already shown off at Summer Games Fest. It was already showing off at Summer Games Fest. They're just showing off a little bit more here. There will be timey craziness like from Sounds of Time. But yeah, there's nothing new, basically. We saw all of it at Summer Games Fest last week. Boo? No. Moving on. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, is not even a game. It's a Netflix show. If you liked Blood Dragon, Far Cry 3, which, yeah, it's fine. It's, you know, it's interesting. It's funny. There's now going to be a TV show about it. Okay. The Division Sandstorm. Darude Resurgence. The Division Resurgence is a mobile game, so skip. Skull and Bones is apparently still coming out and is in development. Is it? Really? Okay. Whatever. Apparently it's going to be out in... there's going to be a closed beta for it in the end of August. How many closed betas do they need before they just... The stupid thing here is with Ubisoft is they've put too much money into it now. They very much have a too big to fail issue with Skull and Bones at this point, because they've invested so heavily into it. They're never going to recoup that money. Anyway. Mario plus Rabbids reminds you it exists, and Rayman is gonna be in it at some point. The Crew Motorfest is a driving game. Moving on. Assassin's Creed Nexus is a VR title set in the Assassin's Creed world. It appears to be a MetaQuest exclusive. You'll be playing 3 of the different assassins. So you play Ezio, sure, okay. Face of the franchise, sure. Cassandra, cool. Fan favorite, makes sense. Connor. Really? Connor? That's who you went with? Really? Him? Okay. Alright. We're gonna move on. Assassin's Creed codename Jade is the Assassin's Creed mobile game. Moving on. Assassin's Creed Mirage showed off a bit more gameplay. It didn't really show off anything new. I'm gonna click into it anyway, but I don't think there was anything new. It's very lengthy for not showing off anything new. So Assassin's Creed Mirage is this attempt for the series to go back to the original games, because I think they feel they've bitten off more than they can chew at this point, with Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla all becoming just enormous games, and are possibly too expensive to maintain anymore. So maybe they're like, hey, let's shrink it down a bit. Let's shrink it down a little bit more. So Assassin's Creed Mirage is, hey, did you guys like the original Assassin's Creed that made the series popular? Well, maybe we should make more of that game, huh? Anyway, that's what Mirage is attempting to be. We'll see if it actually pulls it off, but that's the idea. There are a bunch of Assassin's Creed titles in the works that we don't know a whole lot about. So it's possible they are still trying to make a follow-up for whatever Valhalla is going to be. But I guess we'll see. Star Wars Outlaws, a very lengthy video showing off that game. So it made a brief appearance in the Xbox showcase. Kind of set the internet on fire for a little bit. And then showed up again in Ubisoft Forward, because it is an Ubisoft game. It's a Star Wars game that doesn't have Jedi in it. So that is, depending on how you feel about the Jedi, that is either a good thing or a bad thing. It's going to be an action-adventure type thing. It reminds me heavily of Star Wars 1313. The Star Wars game that never came out. Star Wars Uncharted, if you like. You are playing Han Solo's sister, I guess. Not actually Han Solo's sister, but she might as well be. It's a thief heist type game, but it's got very strong, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Days Gone elements to it. Action adventure, stealth, combat, everything. That whole genre just doesn't mean anything anymore. Action adventure is just whatever you want, really. Do you not fit into a genre? You're action adventure. There you go. That's it. This trailer is very lengthy. You do have your weird alien dog fox thing can help you out to do things. It is not entirely stealth. There is combat as well. Things can go south, and then it does become a cover shooter, Uncharted style type thing. I don't know if this letterboxing is just because it's Star Wars and they wanted to do it for the trailer, or if the game itself is actually this heavily letterboxed. I hope not. But yeah, it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars Uncharted, just like we always wanted, but Amy Hennig isn't involved, which is not what we wanted. There is then a bit of Days Gone to it, because you do get on a bike at some point and driving around. There is some character choice elements to it as well. It's not clear if this is just a set piece or if you can just drive around the map like this. Could be. Like, it could be a heavily scripted linear game like Uncharted, in that this isn't a big map that you can just explore, this is just a set piece. I think a lot, because there have been so many open world sandbox type games recently, I think when people see this, they think, oh, huge map I can go explore and do lots of things in. It's not necessarily true, you know? There's no mini-map. Or anything like that. There's no, you know, map marker, or there is at the top. But there's no, I don't know, there's no elements that suggest this is like an optional area, or there's different ways you can get there, or anything like that. But, I mean, it could be. Could be. It is meant to be a new gen of games and what have you. Anyway, there's some more elements to some social making choices. You can either choose to... you go back to your client and you give them the thing, whatever it was you were meant to steal, and then they pay you off, and then the Empire is here to get their cut, and then you can make a decision of whether or not you want to give them part of it, and so on. If you do, they'll leave you alone. If you don't, then you're on a mad dash to get the hell out of there before they come down on you, which you choose not to in this gameplay. So you're now like on the run from the Empire, and you need to get off the planet quickly, and what have you. Again, how much of this is, you know, scripted? How much of this is free form for the player? Not clear. Not clear. And space combat and what have you. Anyway, that video is very long. So it's not very long, but it's long. So, you know, feel free to check it out yourselves. And that was it from Ubisoft. And then we had one more. We had one more showcase. That was... weird. Did I have two YouTube? Anyway. One more showcase that was incredibly long. Hilariously long, in fact. So, I am just gonna have to very quickly just go through these, or we'll be here forever. Frostpunk 2 is a grim city management game, follow-on for Frostpunk 1. The original Frostpunk is from people who like city management and grim, dark stuff. They really liked it. Possible you'll like it too. Teardown is getting a creative mode. Teardown is that voxel game where you like break into buildings, Minecraft style. It's like an anti-Minecraft. You don't build things, you just destroy the shit out of it. Polish game, yay! Is Frostpunk is? Cool. Or Teardown is. I think Frostpunk is. Who's the developer of Frostpunk? 11-bit Studios. Yeah, that's them. Yeah. Nivalis. So I am going to show you something from Nivalis, because we did play a bit of the game. Sorry, we played a bit of the original game, I guess. So this is based on the city. 11-bit Studios is Polish. Yeah, I think I did hear that. All right. So Nivalis is the name of the city where the game Cloudpunk is set. Cloudpunk we did a Let's Play of for the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's a somewhat visual novel, somewhat package delivery game. It's most notable for its art style. It is technically voxel, but the voxels are quite small. So as long as you don't look too hard at it, you won't notice that everything has, you know, weird sharp edges on them. But look at it. It looks great. It looks really, really good. And it still looks good in Cloudpunk. This looks like Borderlands and Cyberpunk had a child. This has got a little bit of that, all right. So Nivalis is a cyberpunk dystopia city. You know what? You know what's happening. It's built literally on the sea. It's one of the last cities in the world. The people who live in Nivalis don't actually know there are other cities. They think Nivalis is actually the only city left in the world. Cloudpunk is a very small sliver of that whole thing, whereas Nivalis is more of a start at the bottom and work your way up to the top, work your way up to the spires. You are managing a noodle bar. And I think you manage other shops, other businesses as you make your way up, you know, build yourself up, and then, I don't know, somebody throws you off one of the highest towers and kills yourself. I don't know. Anyway, that's the deal. It is very much not Cloudpunk the game, but it is set in the same universe. I did want to highlight it because we were playing Cloudpunk this week, so this might interest you. Jumplight Odyssey is a spaceship roguelite. Moving on. Road to Vostok. Hardcore survival. First-person shooter. No. Ebenezer and the Invisible World. A hand-drawn Metroidvania set in an anime interpretation of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. Metroidvania with a weird art style and a weird setting. I'm in. It's so easy to get the hook in. And then it's also so easy to not get the hook in. All you gotta say is survival anything and I'm out. Alright. Anyway, so, hey, did you think Ebenezer would make a cool anime protagonist? No? Well, we're making the game anyway. We're gonna make the game anyway. Alright, so let's skip ahead to some gameplay bits. So, side-scrolly, Metroidvania, hand-drawn animations, hand-drawn art. You play Ebenezer Scrooge. Is this pre or post his Christmas night? I don't know. It does seem that you have ghost friends to help you out. Possibly some of the ghosts that visited him on Christmas Eve. Not entirely sure, but apparently he's had a change of heart and now is deciding to just beat the shit out of everybody in the city. I don't know. It looks very dumb. It is a very dumb concept. But it's also a Metroidvania, so that means I have to play it. You know how it works. Those are the rules. Warhaven was shown off yet again. They're really pushing Warhaven this year. Diesel Legacy: The Brazen Age is a 2v2 fighting game. That's going to be confusing. So it is 2 people versus 2 people. You don't control 2 people. There's you and a friend versus somebody and their friend, presumably. Or, I don't know, 4 random people get together. The point is, it's 2 people against 2 people. Street Fighter. Nuts. Okay, Dwarf is a throwback RTS similar to the old Command & Conquer type games, or the older Warcraft games. I'm gonna move on. RTS is not my cup of tea. Sulfur is a single-player extraction person shooter. Sailblazers, open world survival shop sim. Eternites, we showed off already at Summer Games Fest. It's a Persona JRPG type thing, but leans a bit heavier into the dating elements. PAX Day is it's like a world sim. Is that a way to put it? I don't know. So they're likening it to EVE Online. The idea is we're just going to create a universe. And you can kind of do whatever you want in it. You know, there are jobs that you can do. So EVE Online, you can, like, get into currying. You can get into careering. You can get into trade. You can get into space piracy. You can just literally work on the space station and earn a salary. You get lots of other things. PAX Day is the same. It's not the same exactly, but it's the same idea. They're just going to make a medieval world rather than a fantasy version. It's like a proper medieval world. Proper. More real to life, I guess. And you can just live in it. You can be, a shit-booter guy who cleans out the latrine if you want. Knock yourself out. You can be a lumberjack. You can be all sorts of other different things. I don't know how many people. I want to be the king. That job's taken. I got here first. I'm the king. I don't know how that works, but okay. Stampede Racing Royale is Mario Kart Battle Royale. So it's not clear if it is more along the veins of Twisted Metal, as in, you all fight each other, or is it more like Mario Kart, a race, and every lap, the bottom 2 are eliminated or something like that. I have a feeling it's the latter one. Mars Horizon 2, The Search for Life. I think I just didn't know what to do with this game, so I skipped. Okay. Path of Exile 2 was shown off again. Path of Exile is a free-to-play Diablo. Path of Exile 2 is a free-to-play Diablo 2. Ferocious, a first-person shooter set on a deadly dinosaur-filled island. Ferocious is Turok. But not the other game? Remember the other game I said that was like Turok? Okay, not that one. Different game. But same. Islands of Insight, a shared world puzzle adventure set in a mysterious fantasy realm. If you have played The Witness, which is a similar kind of idea, or Maquette, or any game that has you walking from puzzles to puzzles effectively. Islands of Insight is that, but it's a shared world. And a shared world means people, other people, multiplayer puzzle solving. Now, I've played enough D&D to know that when you have more than one person attempt to solve a puzzle together, the puzzle does not get solved. Like the other game, but not the other game, but the different game. Got it. That's exactly what it is. Lords of the Fallen came back again. I'm reasonably certain it's the exact same trailer they showed off at the last showcase. It still looks good. Well, sorry. Good is subjective. It's interesting to me because it's very close to Soul Reaver, and I really like Soul Reaver, so we'll go with that. I'm not gonna... I was gonna attempt to pronounce that name, but I'm not going to instead. Something Dungeon Master is Dungeon Keeper. Remember Dungeon Keeper? No? Before your time? I'm old? Got it. Dungeon Keeper was, hey, you like dungeon crawling, right? Running to dungeons, beating up enemies, collecting treasure, yada yada yada. Okay, what if the other way? What if you own the dungeon and you're sick of people coming in stealing your treasure? That's Dungeon Keeper. You set up your monsters and your traps, and make it really hard for heroes to come in and steal your shit. And then EA ruined it by making it a free-to-play, disgusting mobile game, and then promptly forgot about the IP. But I guess didn't forget about it, and they're gonna stop farming in my dungeon. Goddammit! Grind your XP somewhere else, you damn kids. Yeah, it's the same concept, but hopefully not a disgusting EA free-to-play thing. Mariachi Legends is by Halberd Studios, and again, we played a game by Halberd Studios very recently. We played 9 Years of Shadows, which was somewhat rage-inducing for me, because some of those bosses are paying the fucking hole. But it was a Metroidvania with an interesting art style, and you know what happens when I see a Metroidvania with an interesting art style, I have to play it. So Mariachi Legends is from the same studio, but it is what if Castlevania was set in Day of the Dead? And you'll have Mariachi Legends. Or what if Guacamelee, basically, but a different developer. That's kind of what they're going for here. Gameplay, you become this sort of vengeful mariachi. I'm not sure if you have any... Does he have a guitar? If he has a guitar, that'll be interesting, but I don't think he does. Anyway, yeah, Metroidvania combat stuff, and the art style is good. The art direction is interesting, and Halberd Studios, I presumably will have learned a lot from 9 Years of Shadows, and hopefully, good things will come out of that. It is only, they're only entering development, really. So, we're not entering, there's actually quite a bit to show off there. I'd say they've been in it for a year at least. We'll see more soon. Maybe. Who knows? Warhammer Age of Sigmar is RTS Warhammer. Moving on. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector is a shock sequel to Citizen Sleeper. Citizen Sleeper is it's kind of a visual novel tabletop sim. The idea with the original Citizen Sleeper is you are a fugitive refugee cyborg robot owned by the company, and the company keeps you in check by rationing the fuel, we'll say, that you need to function. Not unlike companies in our day ration the money we need to, etc. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Anyway, it's a commentary on real life and how we're under the boot of corporations and what have you. Anyway, Citizen Sleeper, the original, you're essentially trying to live on this station, trying to avoid being recaptured by the corporation, and just try to live your life and maybe possibly, get somewhere safer eventually. You find yourself kind of at the same mercy because you still need that fuel to survive, but it's only available on the black market. It's controlled by the corporation, so if anybody buys it legally, the corporation will know about it and they'll come track you down. So you have to find it black market, doing things for people that you may not want to do, but you're sort of stuck doing it because you have to. Again, refugees who can't work properly because they're technically not citizens of the country they're in have to take jobs they're not, and so okay, that commentary type thing. You roll dice at the beginning of a round, virtual dice, and that allows you to make certain decisions during the day, and hopefully you survive long enough to actually finish the game. That's the original Citizen Sleeper. Citizen Sleeper 2, it seems more like you're on the run, and you're just trying to keep your ship going and your crew going and making decisions as best you can while trying to, again, not get caught by the corporation, but now also not get caught by the criminal enterprise that was very happy to have you working for them, and are now mad you're not working for them anymore. So that's Citizen Sleeper 2. Citizen Sleeper is a really good game, and I would suggest as many people as possible play it. Critter Cove is a cozy tropical life sim, so it's Animal Crossing. But not Animal Crossing. Okay, moving on. Hidden Door is an RPG-style storytelling platform, so I thought this was interesting and also somewhat concerning. So Hidden Door isn't actually a game. Hidden Door is a platform to tell stories on. From like an RPG, tabletop RPG standpoint. So think Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade, etc. Pathfinder, any of those kind of things. What's concerning about it is it's leveraging an awful lot of AI to do it. So the idea is you want to set up scenarios. They're going to have a bunch of curated story concepts and story elements and dialogue and characters and all that kind of things. That's going to be like actually created by human beings. And the AI is sort of just there to like match things together, because if you've ever played D&D, and if you've ever been a games master in those kind of scenarios, if you present a scenario to the players, they will do something you will not expect every time. You can expect to be surprised by what they decide to do every single time, and it'll be something you did not plan for. So the idea is the AI will help you do that better. I'm not sure how I feel about it. How does she write on the keyboard with nails that long? she's like long range typing. So you could really dial it in. I expect her keyboard must have heavily cracked at this point. Or maybe she's not typing. She's air typing for the camera. I just look good. I didn't realize how much of this video is just people talking. Like a ton of it is. I just could swear I remember seeing almost all of it was just showing off the platform. Maybe that's more at the beginning. Anyway, I don't know. It looked interesting. She nails this? I'll see myself out? Absolutely not. You stay here. I need more of that. Okay, Dread Pilots. Dread Pilots is, hey, did you like Sid Meier's Pirates? What's Sid Meier's Pirates? Fuck. God, I'm so old. Sid Meier's Pirates is a pirate sim from a million years ago. Anyway, it's that, but space. Do you like being Han Solo? No, not the bit in the films where he's like a heroic scoundrel guy. Not that bit. The bit before that. The bit where he's kind of a dickhead. And a thief and a criminal. That bit? No? Well, I guess I don't have the game for you. Miasma Chronicles showed up to remind you it's out now. If you want to play it, maybe. Don't. Or at least wait. It is quite unstable at the moment. Undead Inc. had a really cool animated trailer, but it showed literally zero gameplay. But I'll show you the trailer. It's a pretty cool Is it a cool concept? I don't even know now. I'm doubting myself entirely. The idea is, hey, do you like Resident Evil? What part of Resident Evil do you like? Is it the survival bit, the horror bit, the shooting the zombies bit, the hilarious storyline, the cool characters? Wait, you want to be Umbrella instead? You want to be the bad guys and make zombie viruses and weapons grade bio weapons and stuff like that? Okay. The big mommy, of course. Yeah, that's fair. that's valid, very much so. I'm not sure if there's a big mommy in Undead Inc. The idea is it's a sim game, management game, theme hospital type deal. But you are nefarious, evil pharmaceutical company making zombie viruses and hunters and lickers and all that jazz from Resident Evil. That's the kind of gist of the game. It's not clear if there's another element to it, though, because a lot of this trailer focuses on you leaving your day job of managing the company to drop down and, like, clear out your underground secret labs from an outbreak. I'd be very interested to know if there is a somewhat hybrid game here on, team hospital style management thing, / some kind of roguelike dungeon crawly thing as well. Like, that would be really interesting. I doubt it, to be honest. I think it's probably just the management style of things. But it would be interesting to see it. Anyway. And yeah, he can also do the Resident Evil villain thing where he turns into a big monster. It's not clear how he turns back into a regular guy, but there we are. Anyway. I don't know. We don't know a whole lot about it yet, so we'll have to find out later. Altered Alma, Space Opera, Metroidvania. God damn it, I'm in. So again, Metroidvania shenanigans. This, I think, has some co-op elements to it. Believe you do have a buddy that you tag in and out. Is a kind of thing to it. But yeah, Metroidvania, interesting art style. That enemy looks really weird. I gotta play it. It's just the rules. Those are the rules of the channel. An interesting Metroidvania comes out, I have to play it. Invector Rhythm Galaxy is... hey, do you remember Amplitude? No? Shit, why am I so old? A music game where you race down brightly colored tracks to the beat of massive pop hits. That was Amplitude. It's Guitar Hero, but a racer at the same time. Okay. The Invincible is 11-bit Studios again, Lustig. The Invincible is Firewatch, but space, and maybe some elements of horror, and also, what if we went to space in the 50s? You know, what if all of that cassette style, I forget the actual name of the art direction, but it's the stuff you see in Alien, the stuff you saw in Star Wars, the original Star Trek, that kind of technology. Yeah, go Poland. I've had a Polish flag. It's that kind of... If you've ever seen, like, some of the books, some of the comics on space travel, space comics and stuff from the 60s and 70s, it's trying to ape that kind of art direction. But also, shenanigans going on Mars. National anthem starts playing. I don't think I've ever heard the Polish national anthem. Or I have, but I don't think I'd recognize it. Invincible did have a trailer, or not a trailer, it did have a demo at the last Steam Next Fest. It might have one again. Steam Next Fest is like next week. Park Beyond is Roller Coaster Tycoon. So you make roller coasters, or theme park, it's probably better. So again, it's like base management, but it's an amusement park. It's all Park Beyond it. You're not missing out on much. It's not half as cool as the French one's really good. Yeah, to be fair. That's not a fair comparison. They have like one of the best ones. Pathfinder Gallowspire Survivors. Hey, do you remember Vampire Survivors? Well, you should, because that one's not old. Fuck you if you don't remember. That's your problem. Vampire Survivors has like kind of set indie video games on fire because now everyone's making a Survivors type. And Pathfinder will not be an exception. Pathfinder was a somewhat of a schism from D&D 3rd edition. And they went, we just want to keep D&D 3rd edition because it's good. And to be fair, it was good. But D&D went, no, we want to do 4th edition. And 4th edition was bad. Very bad. So bad that they went, let's very quickly go to 5th edition and fix all of that. So they've kind of branched off. But it's kind of Dungeons & Dragons, but it's sort of its own thing now anymore. I actually know this one. No longer old. Excellent. But yeah, it's a Vampire Survivors thing, but set in Pathfinder deals. So you can play the different classes you would come to expect from Pathfinder, from Dungeons & Dragons. You know, your typical fighter, rogue, wizard, that deal. Parcel Core. Ride walls and grind rails as a bicycle messenger. So, Tony Hawk's, but put Tony Hawk on a bike and also give him the experience of a BMX rider as well. And now have him deliver parcels to people. There you go. There's Parcel Core. Fabledom is a game? City builder thing, but set in like fantasy medieval times. Chimera is a sci-fi survival sim set on 30XX is a Mega Man inspired side-scrolling platformer. He didn't say Metroidvania. That means I don't have to look at it. If they say Metroidvania, I have to. Yeah, it's very much Mega Man again. But since Capcom refused to make another Mega Man game, somebody else has to do it. So these guys have stepped up to do it instead. Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew is a stealth tactics game. So if you've ever played Commandos or anything else literally by this developer, because that's all they make, Mimimi games, they are isometric party stealth games specifically. So you can kind of think XCOM, but it's not grid-based, and it's not turn-based. It's real-time, and you are controlling a crew of people trying to commit stealth things. It depends what game you're playing. Their ninja one is kind of interesting as well. Whereas this one is pirates. You're trying to steal shit or attack people and that kind of thing. Exo Rally is a driving game. Moving on. Stormgate is an RTS, but not like new RTSs, old RTSs like Warcraft and StarCraft and Command & Conquer. I don't like RTS. We're going to move on. Fortune's Run is a cyberpunk FPS and immersive sim. Immersive sim? We hardly ever hear that, but if we hear it, I have to look at it. You didn't know about that rule because it very rarely comes up. Anyway, we got to look at it. So a cyberpunk FPS immersive sim sounds a whole lot like System Shock. I forgot what this game is even called. Fortune's Run. Okay. So, alright, we're docking at the space station. Wow. What are you doing? Doc! Why is he being weird? Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead to some actual gameplay. Okay. Yeah, this is very old school. Okay. Yeah, they are... Yeah, System Shock. So they're going for System Shock. If you've seen the newer System Shock remake, you may not know how bad the original System Shock looks these days. But I think that's what they're going for, but the combat might be a bit nicer. I'm not seeing a whole lot of immersive sim elements there. I'm not sure how much of that is immersive sim. A whole lot of first-person shooter, sure. Hell Let Loose has had an update. I don't know what Hell Let Loose is. Multiplayer FPS. That's why I don't know what it is. Okay. Vampire Survivors is getting a patch for more things. Baldur's Gate 3 came out to remind you it's coming out soon. You don't need to tell me, Larian Studios. I literally have a countdown on my desktop waiting for it to come out. Ember Knights, I think, is just Castle Crashers. TerraTech Worlds, an open world survival sandbox. Macabre, multiplayer stealth extraction. Earthless, a roguelike strategy deck building game. Nova Roma, a new city builder, but this time Rome. Okay. I was really disappointed when Earthless turned out to be a deck building roguelike strategy thing, because its trailer was really good. Its trailer was like, Earth is doomed, we gotta leave. And it's like, everybody get on the ship. And it was just really... Like, you've heard that premise in a lot of different a lot of different media at this point, but it's, I don't know, some way the trailer was done, just, it looked really interesting. There was a lot of, like, emotion and pathos to it, and then it's like, yeah, but lol, it's a deck builder, and fuck you. God damn it, you got my hopes up. Alright, Last Train Home, a survival... Why you do this to me? A survival strategy game set during the Russian Civil War. Okay. Every other publication I've seen says this is set in World War I. And these are the only guys who've said it's set during the Russian Civil War. I don't know enough about history to know if they happened at the same time. Did they happen at the same time? Or are they like... Was one really shortly afterwards? I don't know enough about Russian history to say. So I don't know. But it's a survival thing, so I'm going to skip it anyway. Alright, My Friendly Neighborhood. They have their own blurb. I don't even have to do a make up a what if thing. They have their own what if. What if Resident Evil took place on Sesame Street? That's the idea here. So it's a first-person horror game. The horror is that they're Muppets. I mean, guys, you're gonna have to try a little bit harder to scare people with this. I don't think that's even the deal. It's got a bit of Five Nights at Freddy's to it. You know, in that there's like animatronics come to life and try to kill you type deal. And then I guess the Resident Evil aspect is that it's a survival horror type game. Anyway, they're Muppets. How scary can they be, honestly? Like, come on. How slapstick is that attack? Anyway, I don't think it's really meant to be a horror game. I think it's meant to be like, oh, spooky, scary, but they're Muppets. And you're like, you know, it's not scary at all. And anyway, I'm kind of interested to see where they go with that. There's no release date for it, though, or anything like that, which is unfortunate. Formula 1 Manager. Formula 1 Manager isn't even a racing game. It's a management game for a racing game. Alright, moving on. Breath Edge 2. Breath Edge 1 is allegedly a comedy game. I particularly find it that funny, but apparently it's a comedy game. But it's a fairly linear first-person, puzzly, shooty type thing. Breath Edge 2 is not linear. It's a survival sandbox. We'll never play it. Bloomtown is a life sim, but also turn-based things. So half of it is Animal Crossing Stardew Valley, and the other half of it is Final Fantasy. Interesting. We'll have to wait to see more. Sand. Sand only had a CG trailer, and it wasn't particularly clear what kind of game it was. But its setting seemed interesting. So it's okay, I've just read further ahead now. A dystopian open-world multiplayer set in an alternate future where the Austro-Hungarian Empire discovered interplanetary travel on the eve of World War I. Why'd you make it a multiplayer survival game? God damn it, that premise is too good to waste on a multiplayer survival game. I don't like those kind of games. This is no shade at people who like them. A little bit of shade at people who like them. A little bit. But not much. You're trying your best. Dune Awakening is a survival MMO set in the Dune universe. We still don't know anything about it, and to be honest, that is extreme ambition to make an MMO out of Dune. But good luck to them, I'm sure they'll figure it out. Alright, that was the end of all of the showcases. But it wasn't the end of the news. Because there's still news. There's always news. So outside of the showcases and what have you, Armored Core 6 got some behind-the-scenes previews from a bunch of press and a bunch of industry people who know more about these kind of things. So I'm going to jump ahead to just the raw gameplay bits. So this video is specifically from Vati Vidya, who does a lot of From Software videos, so it makes sense that they were invited to check out Armored Core 6. The gameplay was all hands-off, so nobody got to play it. It was all by, I don't know, somebody hired by Bandai Namco, or somebody who works for them, or a developer or something. Anyway, most of it is them just showing off. There's a lot of different ways to approach your missions. A lot of the video shows off that, yes, this is very much Armored Core. The verticality, the customization for all your mech parts, Even some of the burst mode flying and stuff like that. The mission structure that's laid out at the beginning that they're not allowed to show, but the way he describes it makes it sound very much like Armored Core. Opening up to gameplay does have a bit of Armored Core to it, but then eventually they do go into this sort of locked on, hard lock on thing that you more expect from the Souls type games. So I guess we're kind of seeing a question of how much of this is Armored Core and how much of it is Souls. So From Software, before they got into making the Souls games, made Armored Core. And this is Armored Core 6, so they've made a lot of Armored Cores. They've actually made more than 5. Goodbye. See ya. He's gone. He's gone forever. There's more than 5 Armored Cores. There's a lot of them. Anyway. Yeah, it's like how much of it is Souls and how much of it is Armored Core. Again, this was a hands-off demo and a not particularly long demo. Like this is the raw gameplay. It's only like 5 or 6 minutes. Did they show the boss fight? Yeah, the boss fight's down here. Big boss fights. I mean, Armored Core did as well have kind of bigger boss fights, but they weren't like this kind of close-in combat sort of things. You have guns. You don't have to be that close to the enemy. You can stand away and shoot them. But yeah, that looks really good. I'm excited to play it whenever it comes out, which is next soon. I don't know. This year at some point. Anyway, that was Armored Core, and then Atlas Fallen. I really should have done Atlas Fallen first. That's Armored Core is a hard show to follow. All right, Atlas Fallen strikes me very much as PS2 brawler games. So God of War, Darksiders, those kind of games, but just redone for modern hardware. So just redone for the PS5, Xbox Series, so on. The idea with Atlas Fallen is you are in a world that has been subjugated by this alien god, has subjugated mankind, is using them to farm something or mine something underground, and you come across a mysterious gauntlet of superpowers that lets you fight back, yada yada yada, shenanigans. It's got a lot of Forspoken to it, to be fair, as well. And Forspoken didn't do great critically, and there are some aspects of Forspoken I liked. I did actually like Forspoken's combat. It's just pretty much everything else about it I didn't like. We've got this sand hip swaying action going on. Stupid sexy sand skiing. I don't know how to feel about it, because it does feel like they're cutting away from what's happening outside of the gameplay. Like, what are we doing when we're not running around beating things up? And Forspoken had the same issue, is that you don't do a whole lot other than fight. There's not a whole lot to the game outside of that. There's no real puzzle solving. There's no real character choices, or I don't know. There's just not a whole lot of it outside of the combat, which is what kind of makes it feel like a PS2 game, because PS2 games didn't have anything really outside of whatever their gimmick was. Because there's only so much space on the disc. They didn't have room for crafting and city building and base management and character management and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what are we making? Brawler game, cool. That's all we're doing. We're not doing anything else. You have room for it now, and there is now the expectation that you would do more with it. And when you don't, it can feel a bit weird. If the combat can hold itself, fine. But when you have a big sandbox area and you don't have things to put in it, it just feels empty. And Forspoken has that issue, is that the world is extremely empty. There's very little to do in it, other than fight things or go from point A to point B. And that's just the vibe I'm getting from this game as well. Anyway, that is out August, I think, at some point. Okay, that wasn't the end of the showcases, but this one is more of a curated list because it's specifically just for PSVR 2. So some of the PSVR 2 games that were shown off. Toss is a climbing game, apparently, with something to do with bananas. Okay, fair enough. Events at Unity Farm is some kind of horror game. I am skipping very quickly through these because this video has been going on for a long time. Gotta skid. Yep, that's fair enough. Nice, thank you. Even Lustig has to head off because this video has been going on for so long. Anyway, Tin Hearts is Lemmings, basically, in VR. Happy Funland is kind of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's kind of Five Nights at Freddy's and maybe a bit of Dark Pictures, the roller coaster game. Forget it. Anyway, something like that. Madison VR we already knew about. Barbaria is a base building melee combat thing. And has been out on other VR headsets, and it's getting a port. Gazlers is an on-rail shooter. Paint the Town Red is another melee first-person thing. Pixel Ripped is a sequel to some of the other Pixel Ripped games. The Pixel Ripped games are... They kind of take, like, very old Atari, Commodore 64, Amiga type games. Very old. I'm saying things you have no idea what they are because I'm so old. These are ancient devices of antiquity of video games. Ask your granddad, maybe. I don't know. They take those kind of games. So think Space Invaders, Pong, Breakout, that kind of thing. And they wrap it in this kind of time traveling deal, but they also kind of set you back in those times as well. So like they set like the house you're sitting in all has that kind of furniture and style and architecture of the times and that kind of thing. It's a really interesting concept, but obviously the games are Pong and Breakout and what have you. So there's a weird idea of that. The games are, not all that interesting, but the concept and the set dressing are very interesting. B99 Overclocked is a shooter? I don't know what this is. Okay, yeah. So it's like a Tron shooter type thing. Why are we so close to the ground? Are we tiny? I feel super small in that video. All right, anyway. Dyschronia, Chronos Alternate Episode 3. Okay. PSVR 2 is getting the third game rather than the first two games. I'm pretty sure this is like a kind of anime detective type game. It looked interesting, but again, why the third one? Why not the first two? Do I have to play the first two to know what's going on? I don't know. Sushi Ben is a VR visual novel type thing. What's kind of interesting here is they're using, if you've read manga or comics really in general, you'll know that they have these kind of cutout moments, or anime sometimes have them as well, and it's kind of interesting that they're doing it in VR in 3D space. That's it's a kind of novel idea. Interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's like a somewhat of a visual novel management type thing where you're managing like a sushi restaurant at the same time. It is from the people who brought you Hatoful Boyfriend, which is hilarious and really fucking weird. So I would imagine Sushi Ben will be much the same. Crossfire Sierra Squad, who cares? Lots of people, unfortunately, but there are so many military shooters for VR. Like, so many. There are so many first-person shooters. Do something else, please. Grimlord is an attempt to do Dark Souls, more or less, in VR. I think it's been out on Quest for a while. It's getting a PSVR 2 game. A Fisherman's Tale is kind of like Maquette, in that you're in like multiple nested worlds. And the idea is you are trying to get your fisherman out onto his boat, but he's trapped in this sort of nested house situation. And you gradually use the smaller version of you and the bigger version of you to solve puzzles. It's, again, interesting concept. Lo-Fi, the game that's been coming out for 1 million years. It would really be nice if it actually came out. That'd be great, so we could actually play it. So Lo-Fi is, hey, you like Blade Runner? Did you like playing through Cloudpunk last couple of weeks? You might like Lo-Fi. So it's meant to be an immersive sim VR set in cyberpunk, Blade Runner, Utopia type deal. What you actually do in it is not particularly clear. I think you're a detective or something. But there's also like very little enforcement on what you do. Like you're free to go about your cases however you want. I'm not sure there's too much. I don't think if there's any scriptedness to it. That's the thing, because I don't really know if there's any story. I think you just fuck about in VR land. So, again, it looks really good, but as I've said before, if there's no story, I kind of don't care. So, hopefully there is. Ragnarok is a rhythm VR game where you are playing the drums for a Viking longboat. So, you would play the drums to keep rhythm so they would know how to play, or how to, when to pull, when to push, when to pull, when to push. Hit the drum, pull. Hit the drum, push. Hit the drum, pull, and so on. How you do that to music is your boat's gonna fucking capsize. Anyway, that's what Ragnarok is. It's getting some DLC. Synapse has been shown off a good few times now. It's coming out really soon, start of next month. It's a first-person shooter. I know. I was just giving people shit for being a first-person shooter. I know. However, this one's a little different because there's telekinesis in it too. So it's telekinesis first-person shooter, and also it has David Hayter and Jennifer Hale as the voice actors. They're really good. They're really good voice actors. Yeah, it's coming out soon. I do want to play it on the channel, but it is super hot in Ireland right now. Not the game. The temperature. And VR is already very hot anyway. So doing that at the same time, I might die. So we might have to wait until that appears on the channel. I might have to wait until the depths of winter before I do that one. Arashi Castles of Sin is a first-person samurai. No, first-person ninja up type thing. So the concern here is, you might see it all the way at the bottom, is not actual gameplay. So what is the actual gameplay? Now, apparently this game has been out on the MetaQuest already, so it's possible I could just look up the gameplay. It's true, but I didn't, so whatever. I don't know. I'll need to look it up. But this is being redone for PlayStation VR 2. It's a melee, feudal Japan, but also fantasy time thing. Autumn of 2023. And then Hubris, I think, is out pretty soon as well. June? Yeah, next week. So Hubris is a first-person shooter, but it's set in space, okay? And you can swim. It's not just the shooty bits. This refuses to go full screen, sorry. I don't know. It's out soon enough. I'll probably see a couple of people play it, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to play it. I think it has some roguelike elements to it as well. So yeah, it's first person, but it's not all just shooting, and that jellyfish is going to kill that guy. Anyway, that was from the Upload VR showcase, which showed off a lot more games than that, but those are the ones that are confirmed for PlayStation VR, and since that's the only platform I have, that's the only one you're going to see on the channel, so that's, I figure. However, they weren't the only PlayStation VR games mentioned. PlayStation also came up with a few more. Tiger Blade is cyberpunk samurai action, where you also have a tiger cub thing. It's been out on MetaQuest for a while. So there is shooty shoots. You also have a grappling hook and a sword. And I guess you swap between them because why would you dual wield? I mean, if you could dual wield... Alright, if you could dual wield gun and sword, which hand do you put which? You know? Does the sword go in your dominant hand, or does the sword go in your... not dominant hand, left, not dominant hand. Wanderer, the Fragments of Fate is a remake of Wanderer, which is a time travel puzzle thing that has some interesting puzzles, but has a really fucking annoying companion that I wish you could mute, but you can't. Maybe in the remake you can mute them. And Pixel Ripped, we mentioned already, it was part of the Upload VR, and then Seventh Quest was shown off a while ago. The Seventh Quest VR is a VR remake of the Seventh Quest, which, again, showing my age, super fucking old FMV game. that I think is mostly known for its awkward acting than anything else, like all FMV games, to be fair. But yeah, it wasn't clear if it was coming to PlayStation VR. It was coming out of MetaQuest as part of the MetaQuest showcase. But yes, it's also coming to PlayStation as well. So we might see that one, and we might play that one in summer because it's a puzzle game. It's not going to require a whole lot of effort from me, as opposed to Synapse, which will require a shit ton of effort from me. Anyway, continuing with our updates, Phasmophobia also is getting a early access console release. So this is why it's not bundled into the VR things, because while it is getting a PSVR 2 version, it is just straight up coming to flat PlayStation 5 as well, and Xbox, not Switch. So if you've been wondering why Phasmophobia hasn't been getting a lot of updates lately, this is why. It's because they've been working on the console version. And it is still early access. The game just refuses to release. It's never coming out. It's just perpetually in early access, I guess. That reminds me of a lot of projects I've worked on. Anyway. Yeah. It's going to be crossplay as well. That's what I wanted to say. It's going to be crossplay too. So if you are playing on PC and you have a friend who hasn't been able to play it because they don't have a PC, or don't have a good enough PC, or don't want to get into the early access bullshit, just don't tell them it's early access on PlayStation, I guess. That will be out August. Capcom did have a showcase, but I haven't shown you anything from it because they didn't show anything new. The only thing they showed new was Pragmata, and all they said was, it's delayed again, lol. So last time Capcom did a showcase, they did a Pragmata has been delayed trailer, which was cute. It's very fun, very cute trailer where the child character has like a little thing that says, sorry, we've been delayed to 2023. And they had another cute trailer, but this time it's delayed, and we don't know when it's coming out. So either they're having significant development issues, or they're having a considerable rethink about where they're going with development, what kind of game it's going to be. Don't know. All we know is we don't know when it's coming out now. So it's not this year, anyway, and it's not necessarily next year either. Could be a while. Could be a good long while. Which, like, that's fine, as long as it comes out eventually. You know? Like, all the games I just mentioned, all of them are still gonna come out. You know, that's a lot of games still to get through. It's fine. Take your time with it. Capcom have been doing really well recently. I'm sure they know what they're... Maybe. Hopefully they know what they're doing. Okay. Free games on the Epic Store this week are Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2. Guacamelee is a Metroidvania melee-based thing where you play a luchador trying to rescue his fiancée, girlfriend, something like that. And this is very much just the Street Fighter intro. But yes, anyway, it's a very fun game. I would encourage you to give it a shot. The Super Turbo Championship Edition added a bunch of extra levels and also added a co-op player. And Guacamelee 2 is the sequel. More of it. I believe Guacamelee 1 was the better game, though. IMO. Anyway, they're free on Epic, so just give them a shot. Okay, the PlayStation Plus game catalog has updated, or will update, Tuesday. So we have a bunch of games being added to it. I've highlighted some of the ones that I'm interested in, or some of the ones that have featured on the channel previously. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I'm quite interested in playing that, as is friend of the channel Melwin. Also interested in playing it. It's co-op. You might see it as part of some of our co-op games. Inscription is something I've been told to play by a lot of people, and I've avoided seeing any gameplay of it so I can kind of go in blind. And now it is on... now it is free. So I really have zero reason to not check it out. Solstice, I don't know why I didn't highlight that. Solstice has been on the channel, has been featured on the channel. It is a Devil May Cry type game that has a little bit of Berserk and a little bit of... Sorry, not Berserk. A little bit of... No, yeah, Berserk. A little bit of Berserk and a little bit of Claymore going on with it as well. Tacoma has also been featured on the channel. It's a walkie sim taking place in a abandoned space station. You are sent in to recover the space station's AI. It's not a horror game. Despite everything I just said, it's not a horror game, I promise. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. Really, really good for the first 2/3 of it. Really not so great for the last third of it. And A Hat in Time is just a really fun mascot platformy type game. And then there's a bunch of other things that you can read in your leisure. At your leisure. Okay, those were so many fucking games coming soon. But what if you wanted to play something right now? Well, you can play Dordan, which is a visual novel, narrative-driven type thing set in Dordan. It's 2 different time periods. You have this person's childhood, where they were hanging out with their grandmother in France, in Dordan. And you have them as a grown-up, just reminiscing about it kind of situation. It's a very chill, cozy type game that has gorgeous art. Anyway, that was the only game that came out that I was interested in. Okay, unfortunately now though, it is now time to talk about the worst part of video games. Video game industry. So, Xbox Game Studios chief says people need to realize games now take 4 to 6 years to make. This has set off a fucking shitstorm on social media, Twitter, Tumblr, Mastodon, a bunch of places, all saying, no, they don't. They take that long because you don't manage it well. That's why. It's poor management, it's crunch, it's changing your mind, it's not setting out a proper design document at the beginning. It's just winging it for too long and just letting it go for too long, giving people too much runway and so on and so forth. It's all just really bad management. But it's become the de facto norm because bad management is the de facto norm in video games. That's all. You might have seen Richard Ayoade's picture blasted over a bunch of different articles about this kind of thing. But the crux of the argument, this is from Matt Booty, Xbox Game Studios chief, saying that I think the industry and the fans were a little behind the curve on sort of a reset to understand that games aren't 2 or 3 years anymore. They're now 4 to 5 and 6 years. They don't have to be. I mean, they are, but they don't have to be. The reason they are like that is because management is so shit at video game studios. Like, really bad. Look at all of the different news stories and articles that have come out about things like Anthem, things like Cyberpunk, things like Dragon Age, things like, pick a game, Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, any of the big developers. They're all just super shit at managing. Super, super bad. And then he goes off, yeah, this is the kind of thing I had more of an issue with. There are higher expectations. The level of fidelity that we're able to deliver just goes up. They enforced that. The video game industry made high fidelity the mark of a good game. They did that. Because they put it on the back of the box and they kept marketing it. Oh, look how good it is. It's realistic looking. You did that to yourselves. You have worked yourself into a corner. Congratulations. Now you need to keep pushing fidelity because you made it such a crux of the industry and marketed it so heavily that now when people see a game that is a good game but looks not great or is specifically going for an older art style, like a PS1 style game or a PS2 style game, or it's pixel art or it's voxel based or anything like that, and they just think bad game, or it looks like PS2 game, or it looks like whatever, it's just a dismissive thing because it doesn't look great, doesn't look high fidelity. You did this to yourselves. Moving on. Microsoft Activision TRO granted. Everyone says they're happy about it. So this is news that the FTC were suing to prevent the merger of Microsoft and Activision before they could review it themselves. So there is a review for the FTC that was meant to be happening in August. The deadline for the merger is July in some point. So there was concern that Microsoft and Activision would just do it anyway and, you know, eat a fine or something from the FTC. The FTC wanted to no. We're going to review this properly first before you do a merge. So they've said, hey, court, can you temporary restraining order for this merger? And this is news to basically say the court said, yep, cool. You can have your temporary restraining order. And apparently Microsoft are fine with it. A temporary restraining order put in place preventing the two companies from finalizing the purchase while regulatory bodies were still doing their thing. The court has swiftly granted the FTC its TRO, temporary restraining order, preventing the two companies from finalizing the deal at all. Microsoft and Activision are stating that that is great. Actually, we like that. That is fine. Specifically, Bobby Kotick, shithead, has said this will accelerate the legal process, and rather annoyingly, he's right. It will. This will instead push the review from August to soon, basically. Companies are also under a July 18th deadline to actually finalize the deal, but of course, it's just a business deal. You can just renegotiate it. It's not really a big issue. The real fun thing here, though, will be that Microsoft will have to somehow convince the FTC and the court that it really intends to keep its games cross-platform, despite its blatant lies in the past. So the CMA in the UK came down on the side that the deal would give Microsoft too much of a lead in cloud gaming. And this has been seen as kind of a non-issue because cloud gaming is nowhere right now. Even in 10 years, it probably still won't be anywhere. There's plenty of time for people to get into the market. There's arguments either side for that. The FTC's side of things, though, is that you're just going to monopolize more of the games, which has been Sony's argument, which has been my argument also, that this is what you should have been focusing on. Just look at Xbox's showcase. They bought Bethesda and have now promptly made games that used to be third-party, exclusive to their platform. To be fair, Sony have done the same thing in the past. So they can't exactly wash their hands of that, but that doesn't mean it's not an argument to be made, because Sony also should not have been allowed to do it. Games should remain third-party if they want to be. If the developer wants to develop for other platforms, they should be allowed to. And because they're going to become a first-party thing, it won't. Xbox is saying, we're going to keep our games third-party, but they're not. Starfield is an exclusive. Fable is an exclusive. Well, to be fair, Fable was always an exclusive. Avowed will be an exclusive, and so on. So they're going to need to be able to convince the FTC and the court that they're definitely going to keep their word. Microsoft keeping their word. Pigs fly, I guess. PlayStation confident PlayStation Plus strategy as it readies its PS5 game streaming. So this is the anniversary of the PlayStation Plus rebrand, where they split it up into 3 tiers. This is also news that they're testing cloud streaming for the PS5. For some fucking reason, players will only be able to stream these games to PS5 consoles. Why am I streaming a PS5 game to my PS5 console if I have a PS5 console? Who is this for? I get they're testing it, maybe, and I guess from a hardware standpoint, it is easier to stream same to same or like to like. It's still kind of weird. I don't know. I would almost just jump this step. Like, do you need to? Obviously, it's gonna work. Or it's not obviously that's gonna work. Obviously, you should test that it works. But I don't feel like this needs to be rolled out to the greater public as a thing, because who's gonna use it? Anyway, moving on. Adding more games to service, as we talked about previously. Anniversary, PlayStation Now, and so on. So this is Maguire. What's his first name? Nick Maguire, who is like head of PlayStation Plus stuff. He's telling us all about how great the PlayStation rebranding has been. There are now 1 billion hours of gameplay since that catalog launched. That's not as big a flex as he thinks it is. Single games have billions hours of gameplay. You know, an entire catalog of games is this? And he said 1 billion hours, not billions of hours. A single billion. I mean, that's a lot, sure, but cumulatively for video game time, it's really not a lot. It's not a big a flex as he thinks it is my point. And then saying we have 7 times as much time on PlayStation Plus than they did with PlayStation Now. This is not a like-for-like comparison. PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus are not the same thing. PlayStation Now was exclusively a streaming service. That's all it did. Whereas the PlayStation Plus has, it has streaming, but the bigger thing is that you can download a bunch of games. These are not, it's not a like-for-like comparison, so the comparison is pointless. And if he is trying to say that I'm actually specifically talking about the PlayStation Plus streaming aspect versus PlayStation Now, and you have 7 times as much time, you did a shit job of marketing PlayStation Now. That's all that says. Anyway. Magar pointing out some standout titles from the PlayStation Plus catalog. Dead by Daylight, The Legend of Dragoon, Stray, Rainbow Six Siege, and so on. It's kind of interesting to point out that none of these are first-party titles. What's also kind of interesting to point out is that The Legend of Dragoon is a remake that has been asked for years and years and years. So unsurprising that would be a standout title. And then Dead by Daylight and Rainbow Six Siege are subscription games. Rainbow Six Siege is anyway. I'm not too sure about Dead by Daylight. So obviously having what is essentially a subscription paid for through PlayStation Plus, sure, makes sense. And then Stray was launched day and date. And it literally a game about a cat on the internet. I mean, come on. Stray has brought in the highest number of players that have accessed the title over the first 12 months. Big fucking shock there. You are a cat and do cat things. And then Ghost of Tsushima has brought in the highest number of hours of gameplay. People have highest number of hours of gameplay in Ghost of Tsushima because the game is fucking enormous. That's why. Although interestingly, it's not Horizon that did it. That goes to the strength of our PlayStation Studios titles. You have mentioned a single PlayStation Studio game. Only one. Ghost of Tsushima. That's it. None of the other ones are PlayStation Studios games. Anyway. He does, however, follow it up to then say 4 of the top 10 over the year have been PlayStation Studios titles. 4 of the top 10, not 4 of the top 5. Or 4 of the top 4, even. 4 of the top 10 would suggest it's the bottom of the top 10. Whether that's games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon Forbidden West, or Ratchet & Clank, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon Forbidden West are all the same game. They're the same game. Different license applied to it, different art direction, some different gimmicks, but they are, to me at least, they feel like they're the same game. Anyway. Although first-party games are proving hugely popular in the service, Maguire says the company is resolute in its strategy of only putting its older games into the platform and not launching its titles day and date, so don't be expecting PlayStation exclusive games to launch day one into PlayStation Plus. They're content to wait. They're content to try to get as much money out of you first, then put it on PC, and then put it on PlayStation Plus. We are constantly working out what the right strategy is moving forward, how are player habits going to evolve, and how do we make sure the service meets those future habits, etc, etc. Have you tried asking the players? Have you tried doing that? Have you tried asking them what they want? You haven't. Anyway. And then this... I'm not sure where he was going with this, but it's not a good look for you, Chief. I was personally surprised that Premium had ended up being a bigger share of the base than Extra. We all thought that Extra would be where the majority of people went to first, but actually Premium has been more popular and bigger. The Premium tier of PlayStation Plus is mostly old games. It's the classic catalog, right? It's stuff from PS1, PS2, PS3 era. The fact that has a bigger subscriber base than the PlayStation Extra catalog, which is typically more modern games, suggests that there is an interest in older games. People want to play the older games because they have not been able to play the older games because you have not made them compatible. They are surprised at this, which suggests they are unaware that players want to play the old games. This goes back to something Jim Ryan said in an interview a good few years ago now, where he looked at Gran Turismo 2 and said, who would want to play this? This looks like shit. Now, he has tried to say that this is out of context. He was saying that, like, if somebody who had never played video games before and was coming into video games new and they'd see it and they wouldn't want to play it, what have you. This would suggest it's not out of context. This would suggest this is what upper management in PlayStation think, is that nobody wants to play the old games. And that is extremely disappointing. Anyway, even further masking how out of touch they are with the gamers. I am surprised at how similar things are country by country, region to region. By and large, the top 10 and 20 are generally the same between countries. Generally being like FIFA's in the top 10 for the UK kind of thing, whereas Madden's in the top 10 for the US type of deal. The fact that so many games are the same in every region, country to country, this is across the US, across Europe, across Asia, they're all the same games? That is bad. That means you do not have diversity. That means you are not targeting specific regions. That means you are not giving specific regional players the games they want. That niche. You are being incredibly broad and incredibly general, and it is not good for representation of that region. That all of the games are the same. That is a bad thing. And I don't think he's seeing it as a bad thing. I think he's seeing it as, we're doing great because so many people like our games. These are the only games they have. That's the issue. Because you're only making like 2 a year. You have all these studios and you release 2 games every year. There's a whole lot more in that article, but it is just making me angry, so I'm going to move on. A game company that's buying everything does heel turn, goes all in on exploring or exploiting Lord of the Rings. So this is news from Embracer Group that they are preparing to do a massive restructuring. As we talked about last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, they lost out on a $2 billion deal. The speculation is that it was with Sony, but that was not confirmed. And that because of that, they've now had to redo a bunch of plans. A bunch of games are probably going to be cancelled. Developers are probably going to be shut down and so on, because they were assuming that this was going to go through, because they felt, as we said in the article you're talking about, they felt this was a sure thing, and they're also not sure why it fell apart, or whatever it did. So they've spent the last several years buying up some of the best known studios and their IP, and it seems more specifically it was the IP they were buying. They bought Gearbox to get Borderlands, they bought Crystal Dynamics to get Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain. They've become, because of that, just through sheer acquisition alone, they've become one of the biggest publishers in gaming. And then after suddenly losing out on a $2 billion deal for funding, it now plans to start cancelling projects people care about, shutting some studios down, laying off a ton of developers, all while exploiting the hell out of Lord of the Rings. They've become what a lot of players were thinking, you know, saving grace for some of these IP that have been languishing in various publishers' portfolios over the years. Legacy of Kain, for instance, Deus Ex, and so on, a bunch of other ones. And that, yeah, Embracer Group are gonna, you know, bring those games back. You know, you're gonna see new entries in all of these things. And it turns out they were all of them deceived. For Embracer have instead forged capitalism in the fires of Mount Doom, I guess. So they're planning restructuring to cut costs, increase profits, and consolidate its unwieldy empire, which all just means layoffs, basically. People are going to get fired. The reality is that the quicker we act, the sooner we emerge as a stronger company. As the CEO Wingefors, the actions will include, but not be limited to, closing or divestments of some studios and determination or pausing of some ongoing game development projects. It will also include decreased spending on non-development costs such as overhead and other operating expenses. That's people. That's people being shuttered, basically. So they have said that the games that have been announced won't be affected. So Knights of the Old Republic remake won't be affected, and some other game. Some other game. I forget. Oh, it's Space Marine 2, which is pretty much done. It's like it's coming out at the end of the year. So Space Marine 2 won't be touched. Knights of the Old Republic won't be touched. And Crystal Dynamics came out to say that the Perfect Dark game that they're working on with Xbox won't be touched, and that also the Tomb Raider game is fine. That won't be hurt either. So I guess it's games that we're more or less like hoping were going to be made. It's possible they're not going to be made now. So we won't know. But here's capitalism for you. Anyway, not great. Monkey Island creator had no idea the Seas of Thieves crossover was happening. So We talked about it during the Xbox showcase where there's a Sea of Thieves Monkey Island crossover thing. Ron Gilbert didn't know it was happening. It was all done behind his back, as he is quoted as saying. And it feels more like he felt like he should have been part of it, and he wasn't, and he's a bit miffed about it. So the original creator had no idea that the crossover was happening. I wasn't even told about it. It all happened behind my back. It was all done without my knowledge or input. So he's had no input in the crossover. He wasn't even told about it until it was effectively done at that point. And he's like, he wishes them well, but he kind of wishes he was part of the development. There was an update where Terrible Toybox, the Ron Gilbert's development team, kind of updated to say that he was told before the showcase. Like, that he didn't learn at the same time as everybody else. Disney did contact him to let him know it was happening, but it was more of a courtesy call, and it was well after he could have done anything or could have, had any input in the project or anything like that. Disney did give him, Ron, a heads up on the project as a courtesy, but the game was well into development at that point, and he wasn't given the opportunity to be meaningfully involved. Gilbert cares deeply about Monkey Island and wishes the team at Rare well with the project. So it's not great that he wasn't involved in any way, him or Dave Grossman. But that is the nature of IP law, is that they don't own the IP. Disney do. Disney own Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm owns Monkey Island. Disney own Monkey Island. They can do what they want with it. It's kind of shit, but that's where we're at. This is industry bullshit, after all. Anyway, we're going to finish off with some dumb stuff. So, modders turn Lies of P demo into Bloodborne. Sony refuses to put Bloodborne on PC. So you know what? We're just gonna do it ourselves. If you want, cue Thanos grabbing the Infinity Gauntlet. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So they have decided to just mod the Hunter from Bloodborne into Lies of P. Lies of P was already kind of Bloodborne anyway. So having the character from Bloodborne in it already. Now, obviously, this is just like the box art character, if you like. There's all sorts of different costumes you can wear in Bloodborne. And they are costumes because the armor does very little in the game. But this looks really good. Like, it's almost like if you didn't know it was Lives of P, you just go, that's fucking Bloodborne. It's almost there. This mod is available, but it is part of a Patreon, so you will have to join this person's Patreon if you want to have access to it. On the other hand, you could probably just wait, and somebody else will almost certainly make a similar or enough mod. Or hey, maybe Sony will decide to actually just fucking put Bloodborne on PC at some point. Who knows? Last thing. Alright, last thing. Tekken 8 is having a closed network test, but I don't know, if you were scrolling past it quickly and weren't really paying attention, you might think this was a shitpost. So the CNT is meant to mean closed network test, but obviously when people see it on social media and they see the letter CNT, they might think it says something else. And there's a pretty funny tweet here from Succinct Punchy that says, "Sir, we can't keep using CBT to mean closed beta test. Everyone keeps laughing at us." Alright, I'll think of something. And then the something, of course, is they now use CNT instead. Dumb. Very, very dumb. Anyway, we will leave Dordan to play in the background while we have a quick little recap of our too long didn't watch bunch of showcases. Go fucking watch them. I'm not going back over all of them. Xbox showed off a lot of things, whole lot of things about Starfield. Fable was teased, but we didn't see too much about it. Avowed looks interesting. The Future Game Show, I don't remember. They just did it, but I don't remember. Well, we just did it, but that's like 2 hours ago at this point. So, cut me some slack. There was some good shit there. I don't know. Go back and look at it. Ubisoft Forward. Mostly it was stuff we had seen already, but we did see a lot more of Star Wars Outlaws, which looks really good. But I'm kind of more interested to see what you are doing outside of gameplay, or what you are doing outside of the scripted things. I guess we'll see. And then there was the PC gaming show that was hilariously long. and I'm not going back over all of it, so just look it up yourselves. Armored Core 6 had some behind the doors gameplay stuff, and some publications and some personalities have been able to show some of it off. We had a little bit look at VatiVidia's video. It looks good. Atlas Fallen similarly had a bit of a gameplay showcase. It looks like a current gen PS2 brawler type game, and it also has a fair bit of Forspoken to it, and that may or may not sound good to you. I don't know. I did like Forspoken's combat. It's just basically everything else about it I didn't like. The PlayStation Plus Catalogue has been updated, or will be updated rather, on Tuesday. More games being added. Inscription is probably the highlight for me, but there's a bunch of other things there as well. Thor Dawn is the new release this week. Industry bullshit. Sony don't understand what their players want. The FTC have had a temporary restraining order set on Microsoft and Activision from their acquisition, so that has to go through courts now before that can finish. Those are the big ones, I think. I can't think of anything else. There was something else at the beginning. Oh yeah, Matt Booty said games take 6 years now, get used to it. And it's like, no. Manage your games better. Was pretty much the response from almost every other developer. And then Sony refused to put Bloodborne on PC, so the modders just said, fuck it, we're going to do it ourselves. And they used Lives of P to do it instead. Anyway, that is your news for the week, but what are we doing on the channel next week? So we are, when I can find it, somewhere. There it is. So this is our roadmap for the first half of 2023. Green symbol, game has been featured. Yellow symbol, game is currently being featured. Gray symbol, the game is on its way pretty soon. No symbol, sorry, little yellow wedge thing, it's a full Let's Play. And no symbol, give me a minute. We'll be there eventually, alright? Probably in the second half of 2023, if we're being honest at this point. So this week we finished Scoozy. This week, that's fucking loud. This week we finished Bioshock. We were playing through Bioshock Remaster. We have now completed it. The full Let's Play will be over on the Twitch VODs. Sorry, the full Let's Play won't be. Maybe the end of it will be. The full Let's Play will be over on YouTube. YouTube.com/Doomtrader5 if you want to check that out. Yeah, still a good game. Still a fun game. I don't think it still deserves its 96 or whatever it is on Metacritic, but yeah, it's still a good game. We also finished Cloudpunk, which I talked about earlier in the stream, where we were talking about Nivalis, which is a follow-on to the game. Cloudpunk is still an interesting story to me, and it's mostly the world that I'm very interested in, so I am like really, really interested to play Nivalis. I want to see how that turns out. But again, full Let's Play of that is over on YouTube, if you want to check that out as well, the full VOD. This week we started playing Diablo, the original Diablo. Yes, I am that old. We started playing the original Diablo. This is the only Diablo I haven't played. Or Immortal, I suppose. I haven't played that either, but I'm never going to play that, so whatever. I started playing Diablo with Diablo 2, and then went into Diablo 3. I've played the beta of Diablo 4. I haven't played the actual fully released game yet, but I have never played the original Diablo. So we started playing that, and I have learned some quality of life things do not exist in the original Diablo that did exist in Diablo 2, namely a UI for selling and moving things around, actual skill abilities. Your character's actually quite limited in what they can do. And rather hilariously, there is no resurrection mechanic in Diablo 2. You die, you're fucking dead. Reload. Which I did not know, and I had not saved for quite a while, and then we died. So that was fun. Anyway, we're going to continue. I have got our character back up to where we were and saved this time. And I will remember to save going forward. Anyway, so we'll be continuing to play that next week. Monster Hunter World, similarly, I started playing that yesterday. This will be more of an intermittent Let's Play. So we're going to do a blast of it at the beginning, then we'll take a break while I grind, more or less, in Monster Hunter. And then again, we'll jump back into some story things again, and so on and so forth. So it'll be kind of dropped into the schedule as and when I have time for it and want to play it, and I'm able to play it, and so on and so forth. But we did start one yesterday. I might jump back on again today. I haven't decided yet. But we'll see. And then also next week... Oops. Wrong button. Also next week is the Steam Next Fest again. So this is the mid-summer Steam Next Fest. This is when a bunch of upcoming games have some time-limited demos available for the week. So on Wednesday, we are going to play some of them. I can't say we're going to play all of them because it's going to be a lot. But I'm going to pick out a couple that look interesting to me, and we'll play through them on Wednesday. I don't have a Foley Fable ready for this week, so that's what we're going to do in its place. So that is the plan for next week. Tuesday, Diablo. Thursday, Diablo. Maybe Monster Hunter. I might swap them in. I don't know. I might do Monster Hunter on Monday and Diablo on Tuesday instead. I don't know yet. Wednesday, Steam Next Fest, Demo Palooza. Friday, Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 is released on Thursday, technically. But Friday is usually when we do newly released games as part of Foley Plays Games a Bit. I have not decided yet if we're going to do a full Let's Play of Final Fantasy 16. I don't know yet. Because I am going to be playing it anyway, off stream. So it kind of makes sense that I just do it and do the Let's Play. But I don't know. I'm kind of at odds of doing Let's Plays of just brand new games. Because one, bigger channels are doing it anyway. And two, a lot of people who watch my channel also like the games I play. And typically don't want to be spoiled on the new versions or the sequels and what have you. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet. And then A Way Out on Saturday. Melwen should be back from her trip, so we'll be continuing our co-op run of A Way Out. Monster Hunter will appear somewhere there. I don't know yet. It'll either be the Tuesday or the Thursday. I haven't decided. And then Sunday we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap where you are right now. Anyway, that is us for today. So thank you to Melwen, who took time out of her transfer from Paris to where she's going next, and Lustig for dropping in for some of the video game stuff. Appreciate it. Lustig is probably streaming now. She did say she was, or I think she said she was getting ready for her stream. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think she's still in the preparation phase. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your day. I might see you back for more Monster Hunter later on. Maybe. If I don't, that's fine. Melwen is obviously traveling, so she won't be streaming later. And Lustig might be. So, give Lustig a follow. LUSSTIQ. Twitch.tv. And also, if you feel like discussing any more of the things or want to see more things on the channel or want to make suggestions or anything like that, we have a Discord now. So do !Discord in the chat. You don't have to wait for the stream. You can just do it in the chat. The command will come up anyway. Or just scroll down to the About over on Twitch and you'll find the link to Discord, or message me and I'll give you the link, and so on and so forth. Cool. Right. I'm going to head off. Have a good rest of your day, and see you guys when I see you. Bye-bye.